Hey, I'm Jeff the Junk Seller, and this presentation is going to be out about the latest transition that I've put my business through, which is becoming a boother. I got set up in Water Street Antique Company down in Kerrville. It just getting everything ready for that. I had 246 items that I had to clean and price and research, do all that good stuff, and it came to just under $42,000 that I was able to stuff into that display case. But in the week, in the time leading up to that, it took me about a month to get around to doing that, and in the meantime, I really didn't do too many sales. Back in, I guess it was February the 28th, I went to Ardmore and set up. I just needed to make a couple of $100. I think I barely made $100. That was on a Saturday, and whenever I do that South Central Oklahoma thing, I do Ardmore, and then I go to Sulphur. And I thought, because it was the same weekend as First Mondays, I thought that it was the first of the month, and that was completely my mistake. I should have checked the calendar. It was still February. It wasn't even, a lot of people that go to those markets count on state and federal aid to be able to buy anything. It's what I call a peasant market, and they just, it was the end of the month for them. They had no discretionary money. But I made it out to I hung out there. I made it to Sulphur in the morning to shop. They've raised their prices. They used to be $3 for parking. It's now $5 for parking. It used to be $15 to set up. Now it's $20 to set up. I don't know that I'll be going back out there for quite a while. I shopped, and I wasn't able to get anything. And they've got a couple of savvy pickers out there. I think that the stuff that bubbles to the surface, there's just not enough. And then they've got a couple of guys out there that, the competition is pretty stiff out there. So I don't think that I'm going to be making that out there anymore. But I went to check out a market in Denton, Texas. And I have a friend, a Mexican friend, that sets up at Buffalo Gap, and he told me that I would not enjoy that market. He said that it was all Mexican. He used to sell pets or birds or something out there. And sure enough, I went out there. Everything was painted red with gold trim. It looked like I'd crossed the border. I think I was the only gringo out there. They had tools and clothing and housewares. None of the stuff that I deal in. It just wasn't my kind of market. They had some people out there selling silver jewelry and some people selling knockoff electronics and the tool stuff, but not my kind of market. But I made it back down here, and I started going through my storage units. There's a lot of stuff I can't find, and I think that I worry that I threw away my Harding black piece of pottery. It might have been wrapped up in paper in the front of the van, and the van was a mess, and I may have thrown it away. A $450 piece of pottery. But I was able to find it just yesterday. I found some pretty good stuff. But I have I've really been slacking. Even though I had to get all this stuff ready and for this booth and everything, and I got installed down there, and it looked fantastic. I think management was pleased with it. I asked about getting into another booth, a big booth. I'm just in the display case, a little 4x6 by 16-inch deep shelves, and I had to make some racks, some backers for the shelves in order to get the photographs and the coins and all that stuff elevated to get it presented well. I had to go out to a buddy's place in Caddo Mills to get that done. That was a couple of days and a couple of $100 in material. Maybe only $130 in material. So getting the space this small, I had to make these backdrops so that I could support books and postcards and framed art and that kind of stuff. These are going to rest inside of the shelves, inside of the on the shelves in the display case to support that kind of stuff. I'll be showing how that all fits when I install it. How I stayed solvent, I really don't know. Even though I'm on some borrowed money, I've borrowed $400 from one friend and $200 from another. It just things incidentals, and with the war in Iran right now, the gas prices, and I'm having to travel some incredible distances to do that booth. It's punched me in the gut, and my safety selling silver has dropped out. I wouldn't sell right now if they were buying, but they're not buying. And I don't know when they'll resume buying silver, but it's just been it's been tough. But I paid my booth rent. I got everything installed. I think the display looked great. Everybody that I showed pictures to, they were really impressed with it. I mean, that's an awful lot of money, though. Nearly $42,000 worth of inventory crammed into that little space. But I'll never have to hear anybody look at one of those tobacco tins and ask me if that's $2.50 or $250. I don't have to hear that. They'll have to hear that. I won't be there. But I think that probably I'll evolve into doing a 10 by 10 storage unit. Right now, I've collected in my storage unit. I've sorted out everything that is booth material from there's a display case material, booth material, and then there's flea market material, and then there's crap flea market material. And I'm having to get everything sorted, and it's kind of difficult. But I feel like I've been slacking. I took the patio furniture, the Woodard patio furniture set to Warrenton. I took some other stuff out there, some other small stuff that all sold. Patio furniture set sold. I think we took $300 on that. I paid $14 or $17 for it, but a friend of mine wanted me to put it in her booth, something that I wasn't concerned about getting wet, to put out front, so that people would pay attention to her booth. She doesn't have a whole lot of stuff stacked out front. And I took the cast iron columns, but I had to go back down and pick up the columns. I went around, I saw a bunch of people that I hadn't seen for a long time. It was good to see everybody, but I sold enough stuff to get out to pay my rent on my booth. And I'm barely solvent right now, but that doesn't too much matter. Things change. Things will get better. But my friends, I had a friend that did over $10,000 at Warrenton. I had another friend that did over $30,000 at Warrenton. And people were picking gold and silver, finding gold and silver for nothing. They were making money like that. Had a friend that got on Facebook Marketplace, bought a bunch of costume jewelry for $30, had like $3,000 in gold in it. And my buddy Legendary Dave, in fact, I just saw him a little while ago. He's been buying units, and he's been knocking them out of the park. And he paid like $220 for a storage unit. It's got had boxes and boxes and boxes full of tightly packed glass, collectible glass, Fenton and Blanco and that kind of stuff, and had a bunch of 1970s and 1980s toys in there. And he found a little bottle with $3,100 in. He's already scrapped the gold for $3,100, and he paid $220 for the storage unit. It was a 10 by 15, and I'm thinking that I've got to get something going. I've got to get this, get these units cleaned out, and start buying storage units again. I could probably. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff away just to get it out of my life. It's stuff that's barely marketable, but these coming up weeks, I think that I'm going to go to um, I think that I'm going to Bowie, and I'm going to sell a bunch of crap, a bunch of dollar crap, a bunch of cheap stuff, and I'm going to be letting it go. Most of it's going to be for sale very, very inexpensively, just to generate cash and space. And after that, I will go to Buffalo Gap, and from there, I believe that I'll go down to Kerrville just to check on the booth, to add stuff if I need to see how sales have been. But I'll do a sale down there. I've got my tax certificate coming. Some of these sales, you have to have a copy of your tax certificate, and I haven't had that for quite some time. But it's taken a lot of time. I'm getting out of my wheelhouse, building those displays, and just getting everything cleaned. I mean, there were some of these things that, I had to try 3 or 4 different methods. You soak it in lye, try to come up with special tools to reach crevices and all this crazy stuff. And then I ended up using hydrochloric acid in order to take some of the lime out. But generally I never clean it and present it that well. One of the tricks that I learned on cast iron is where I can't really seal it. I can't season it. I can't put oil on it and heat it to high temperatures for a long period of time in order to season it. I'm getting them cleaned up, and I'm just putting just the tiniest bit of paraffin on it. And at the state park, I'll take, because I have electric hookup there, I'll take a heat gun and just take a tiny little piece of paraffin and get the whole thing coated in paraffin, so that it at least appears to be seasoned. But I'm having to come up with some kind of solutions like that. Still trying to recover gold and silver out of silver and gold plate. I'm going to have to do some assay work on that soon, because I've invested too much time in the project already, and I don't have a result. But it's been interesting, and I think when I think about it, I really don't. I don't want to rely on flea markets so much anymore. I think that I need to become a boother. This same week right now, with getting my tax number restored, I came in and I was going to set up at Canton this weekend, and the weather was just horrible. They predicted all week that Saturday was going to be terrible weather, and sure enough, we had rain all day on Saturday. And I just don't want to be. I don't want to have my fortunes subjected to the weather, And I need to diversify. I need to do the booth thing. I need to do storage units. I need to do a whole bunch of stuff. But boothing has not been something that has been in my playbook for for decades. But anyway, I'll keep you posted on how that works, and I'm going to try to work up some other presentations. I think that I've got one about unmarked silver that I'm going to do. But if you've enjoyed this presentation, then please give it a like and have a look at some of my other material. And if you like that as well, then please subscribe. But thank you for viewing.